Hello and welcome back to the TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com. I am Peter Jaworski, the Toronto website developer specializing in Drupal. And in this first video tutorial of a 10-part video tutorial series on object-oriented PHP, I want to introduce you to the basics of object-oriented programming. If you've watched my first video tutorial on an introduction to PHP, the tutorial series, you'll see at the end of the video tutorial series that I covered object-oriented programming. And now with the introduction to Drupal 8, it has heavily gone OOP, and so I want to introduce you to some of the topics that you're going to need to know about when you're actually starting to work with Drupal. Now, before we get started, you'll notice I'm over at TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com/store. Here you can purchase my video tutorial series as I complete them. I've been a little bit delinquent and haven't gotten a few up there, so if you're following along, one day I'll have them up there. But each video tutorial sale helps me to continue to keep these video tutorials free and frequent. They're only $20, but if you can't afford the $20 and you do want to give back, please just leave this tutorial a thumbs up or leave a comment on YouTube. Both are greatly appreciated. So with that, you'll notice I'm over at localhost/OOP/tutorial1/helloobject.php. For those of you who aren't familiar, I'm using a WAMP stack. So that's Windows, Apache, MySQL, PHP. This is the PHP video tutorial series. And my version of PHP is, just so you're aware, 5.5.12. So that's 5.5.12. If you're following along, you want to use a similar version because you can run into issues further along down the line if you're using a different version of PHP. If you're not sure about how to get WAMP set up, I do have another series which I'm doing in parallel to this, which is an introduction to Drupal 8. Yes, Drupal 8. And the first video tutorial there goes to show you how to update your WAMP server or even install it if it's your first time. So I'll link to that and you'll have access to it. Now, that said, helloobject.php, let's take a look at that. So I've got my command line editor here, and I'm just going to vim helloobject.php. And you'll see I start off with just regular HTML. You should be familiar with that. And then you'll see I open up my PHP tags here, and then I've got 4 lines. So the first line, require hello world.php. What this is telling PHP is that it needs to include this file. So while we're going to helloobject.php, what's actually happening is it will parse all of this file, and then PHP, when it gets here, it'll say to itself, okay, I need to include this file, and now this file becomes accessible. So really what happens is you load all of this, and then a whole bunch more, depending upon what's in hello world.php. I'm creating a variable here. You should be familiar with this. So I'm creating the variable object, $object, and it's equal to new hello world. What this means is give me a new object, which is hello world, and that's got to be defined in hello world.php. And then from there, I'm going to call the method say hello from the hello world object. That will do something, and then we're going to go ahead and unset that object. So we're actually going to destroy it, and that will be the end of our script. Now, if you haven't watched the 10th video tutorial, I believe, in the introduction to PHP, I highly recommend you do that because that will explain what I mean by classes, objects, methods, and so on. Essentially, a class is kind of like taking an object and let's say, I don't want to use a technical term, but it's encapsulating that functionality within the object. So you're taking it and compartmentalizing a bunch of functionality, a bunch of things that that object relates to. So if you take, let's take a car, for instance, we could make an object out of a car, and then you could tell it that object would have 4 wheels, potentially 4 doors, an engine, and we would have a method called drive. You could tell the car to drive, right? So that's the whole idea behind object-oriented programming, and that's what we're going to look at in this video tutorial series. So now that you know I need to require hello world.php, A, I need to have that file. B, I need to have the object hello world in it, and I need to have the method say hello. So let's go ahead and do that. So you'll see that I've got hello world here, and we're going to open up our PHP tags because this is just simply a PHP file. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a class, which is going to be hello world, like we just saw. And we're going to open with some squiggly brackets, and I keep forgetting that I'm using vi. And we're going to close the squiggly brackets. So this is how you define a class in PHP. It's just class and then the name. And names in PHP for classes are typically all, I guess I was going to say camel case, but they're not camel case. because they're first letter capitalized, and there's a specific term for that that escapes me right now. So unfortunately, we're going to leave that. But now I have this class, and so I can go ahead and save this. And if I reload this page now, you'll see that my error changed. It previously said it could not find the object it was looking for. Now it's saying that it cannot find the method that it's looking for. And it's telling me that's on line 15 of hello world object.php. This debugging is actually coming from Zend debug, which comes when you install WAMP and you get the PHP 5.5.12, whatever the newest version of WAMP stack that you install is. It comes with Zend debug right into it, and so it's great because this call stack is actually all the methods that are called until you get to the error. So I'm seeing a fatal error here. It's stopping my script. If there were a bunch more, then it would tell me that as well. So let's go back to our script. We need to now create this method, say hello. And so you do that with PHP by doing, you're going to say function. Function, say hello. And because it's a function, this should look familiar to you if you're familiar with PHP in a functional perspective. So I've just created a function, say hello. It doesn't take any arguments. And if I just save this now and I reload, you'll see that our page doesn't do anything. There's no more errors, but it doesn't actually do anything because say hello doesn't do anything. So that's where we're going to actually, in here, put print. We're going to say hello world. This is your typical first programming project ever. Hello world. You always see that end up happening. So there you go. Hello world. We've printed it. We now have an object. And so normally this is where your first tutorial ends because you've conquered the world and you've said hello world on screen. But it's kind of crappy. So we're not gonna go too far. But what we'll do is we'll introduce you to what are called properties. And so I could type in here, I'm going to create a property. I'm going to explain this to you. So this is going to be called greeting, and it's going to be called hello world, right? So this is going to make it a little bit more dynamic. And I'm going to take this line out, and we're going to print greeting. And this is going to give you an error because I'm showing you this because this is what would be intuitive. So you'll see here we get undefined variable greeting on line 8 of hello world.php, and here's the call stack that I was talking about. We started here in this file, and then we went to here where we actually called the say hello on line 15, and that gave us an error. And so the reason why this gave us an error is because when you're working with object-oriented programming, unlike the functional programming in PHP, you have to refer to what variable you're talking about. So here I said print greeting, and we defined greeting up here, but the method doesn't know what we're talking about. And you tell the method what we're talking about by using the word this. So this variable, this, refers to this object. So when it gets into, I'm pointing at the screen, you can actually see the screen. When it gets to function say hello, and it steps into it, and we say print, we're going to say print this greeting. And that's what's referred to up here, greeting hello world. And so now if I reload this page, you'll see that I get hello world. And so that's what's going on there. Now, what we can do is, let's get crazy. I didn't want to get into constructors with you, but we might as well get into constructors. So, without going too far down the rabbit hole, because we're going to follow it off later in another video tutorial, we're going to take a look at what are called magic methods in PHP. And so with object-oriented programming, there are a number of different methods. I want to say there's 6, but that could be old and I could be wrong. Anyways, there's a number of methods that get called at various times doing various things. And so one of those is the construct method. And so what's going to happen here is we're going to type function, and it's going to be 2 underscores, and it's going to be construct. And we're going to open it up like this. Got to fix my Vim setup. And so now what we're going to do is actually we are going to take an argument, and this is going to be called I don't want to confuse you. Whatever. we'll call this salutation. I hope it's salutation. Yeah, I might have spelled that wrong. So here what we're going to do is we'll make this come in as default is going to be empty. And so here, if not empty, salutation, then this greeting is equal to salutation. Okay. I'm sorry about this. I really got to fix these. Undo. Okay. So there we go. So now what we're going to do is same thing. And so if we reload this page, you'll see that we get the exact same thing, still getting hello world. But if we go back into our script, hello object, down here where we have hello world, let's say I'm going to pass in hi Pete. Okay. I reload this page, and now you'll see that our salutation has changed to hi Pete. The reason for that is when we go back into Vim hello world, the construct method, this magic method underscore underscore construct, gets called whenever you instantiate a new object. The word instantiate means you actually create an object out of a class. So the class is the blueprint. The object is actually what gets created out of that. So you have a blueprint for a house. The house that you create is actually your object. Your blueprint is your class. So when I call new hello world, it calls underscore underscore construct. And we pass in salutation. And so it's not empty. And so as a result, we set this greeting equal to salutation. And then when the function say hello gets called, or rather the method say hello gets called, it returns this greeting. So that's pretty much what we're going to leave off here. The key takeaways here are for object-oriented programming. To define your class, you're going to call class, give it a name. You can provide a class with properties, which is what public greeting is here. Ignore the public. We're going to explain what that means. It's what's referred to as a scope. So a class can have properties and it can have methods. And so we created our own method, which was say hello, and then it actually printed something out. But you also have magic methods in PHP Object-Oriented Programming, one of which is construct. And so construct gets called anytime you instantiate a class, you create a new object out of a class. And with that, you can then mix in to your HTML, and you can create the new object, call its methods, and then you can destroy that object. So that's it for this video tutorial. Hopefully it wasn't too fast. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think, because I will be recording a few of these at a time, and I really want to make sure that they hit the need. So any questions, any concerns, please leave a comment. Let me know. Hopefully we'll see you for the next video tutorial. Thanks very much for watching.